And Jesus immediately said, if you look at verse 4, that this sickness was not going to be unto death. This was not going to result into death. We know people who are sick in their minds. They sick, in our opinion, they sick because of the way they act. Their behavior renders them as sick. But Jesus is saying, this will not result in death. And how many of you have ever been praying for somebody? I was thinking about this, about people that I consider sick. I have cousins who have been strung out on drugs. I consider that a sickness. But God is saying that this sickness will not result in death. They're not going to die in that sickness. They're going to come out of that sickness before. And I believe that it's because of the prayers that we're sending up to God, or because of the illness that we want to come out of them. We want them to be saved. We want them to have the best life possible. And sometimes that change may not come until they're at the point of death. But Jesus is saying this particular sickness that Lazarus has is not unto death. But he goes on to say that it's for the glory of God. And that's hard for us to fathom. I'm praying for somebody to get better. I'm praying for them to stop acting stupid. I'm praying for them to stop acting crazy. But God allows it to continue on, and he allows it to continue on, and he allows you to continue to pray for them and to build them up, because he says in the end, I'm going to be glorified by what happens at the end of this situation. If you would just continue to move forward in the plan that I've put in your place. I've told you to pray for them. I've told you to love them. They are your family. They are your friends. Pray for them and love them. So what's interesting is when Jesus found out, he didn't go immediately to be by the family side. And in the midst of him waiting, or even before he got there, what happens?
He died.
He died. Well, God already said it ain't going to lead to death, so how could he die? If he said it's not going to lead to death, how in the world did he die?
He said that it's not unto death.
He waited a couple of days. You go, girl. He waited a couple of days before he went, and then he gets there. He's talking to his disciples before he even goes, and he says that Lazarus is asleep. The disciples, I'm going to look at us as the disciples. We're the ones that's following around Jesus. We're with him all the time, and we understand him because we travel with him all the time. And Jesus is telling us Lazarus is asleep. And they're like, oh, good, so he should get better then because he's getting all this rest. So then Jesus had to speak to us plainly and say, no, he's dead, because he's dead in the situation that he's in. He's not in a situation that is lively or beneficial to him being alive. So Lazarus is dead. And in verse 15, he says that I'm glad that we weren't there when he died, because, and get this, because I thought about us, all of us at this point right here. It says that I'm glad I wasn't there so that you may believe. We're praying to God about him saving somebody and getting them right and making them start acting right. But then we don't really believe that God can do it. Can't be changed. Although you're saying, God, I believe you can change anything. She says, if you had been here, if you had gotten here, my brother would not have died. Now, why is he dead if you've been praying for him to live and God's already said it's not going to be unto death? But then she goes on in the next passage and says, but I know that whatever you ask God, God will give it to you. So her lips speak faith, but really her mentality is, nope, you can't do it.
Right.
Her lips says, I know whatever you ask God, he'll do it. I know whatever, he's able to raise him up. He's able to get him off drugs. He's able to make him stop acting crazy. He's able to make him be the right husband or make them be the right husband or the right wife. Able to make them be the right child that's going to act obedient and do the right things in school. He's able, I believe it, God, but then right here, if you had been here, she wouldn't have failed school. If you had been here, God, they wouldn't have acted that crazy as they did, and I wouldn't have had to leave them. But we're still praying and believing, but our lips say it, but our actions don't. And Jesus in verse 23 tells her, your brother will rise, he will live again. Because as far as I'm concerned, he's not even dead, he's just asleep. He hasn't died, he's asleep, and I'm able to handle that. You've been praying and believing me for it. And then Martha says, doubt again. I know, Lord, he'll rise again in the resurrection. Jesus is not talking about the resurrection. He's talking about right now. Right now, he can handle your situation if you would just believe and stay focused on him and stop focusing on the situation. Anything is changing in that path. You're doing everything you think is right in your mind. You're saying the right things out of your mouth, but do you really believe that God can change it?
Amen.
Sometimes that's the hardest thing when you're going through something. But it's not unto death, Deborah. You're going to stay on this job and you're going to do the job. And in the end, I'm going to be victorious through you. Amen. And everybody's going to see the victory that I put inside of you while you're going through the trials on that job. Amen? Amen. I mean, sometimes and I just got to believe that. I can't just be saying this out of my mouth to you. I got to walk it. And I've seen him do so many other miraculous things through things that I thought were impossible before. And I look back now and be like, and I say this all the time when I teach our women's Bible Bible study. Look at what he's brought you through before.
That's right.
He did it then. Can he do? This is nothing compared to what was back then. But I'm telling you, when I'm in control of it in the end, it's going to be to your glory, the same thing. But anyway, in the rest of the story, Martha has this doubt and she says, oh Lord, I know he's going to come back. And Jesus goes on to tell her in the beginning of verse 25, I am the resurrection.
Yes, Lord.
Whoever believes in me will live even though they die. And everyone that believes in me will never die. And he asked her, Martha, do you believe this?
Yes.
And Martha goes and says, yeah, Lord, I believe that you're the Christ. You're the one who is coming into the world. And there he is right there with him. You're not coming. You're here with me.
Amen.
You are right here with me. Not that you are coming, Lord, to handle the situation. You're already here, and the situation is handled. Amen?
Amen.
You're already here. The situation is handled. I'm sitting on that job. He's already there.
Yeah.
The situation is handled. You're sitting in your house and struggling with those that you live with. He's already there. The situation is handled.
Yes, it is.
You have friends
Amen.
who are acting stupid,
Amen.
and you know God put them in your life, even though it is a situation that you put yourself into. But God is already there, and the situation is handled.
Yes.
You just got to believe what you pray, and don't think it's not a superficial thing that you pray one day, oh God, fix them, and then you done. Okay, I'm wiping my slate clean of it. No, it's a process. It is a process, and I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, when you're praying for somebody else, God is changing you.
That's right.
He is changing you.